Good morning, New Brunswick, and welcome to the New Brunswick Today show for today, Tuesday, February 7th. I'm your host, Charlie Cradaville, and I don't have a beard anymore. It's 10:20 this morning right now. On today's show, we've got a couple of very special guests, so stay tuned. Those guests include Karimer Andujar, the president of Undocu Rutgers, one of the many organizations that was behind last week's mass protest against Donald Trump's recent executive orders on immigration. It is 40 degrees and cloudy here today in downtown New Brunswick. We can expect some periods of rain, heavy at times during the day. The high today will be 52 and the low tonight will be 47. Now, bear with us. We are doing something a little different today. We're coming at you on YouTube Live instead of Facebook Live, but we are still working hard to cover the Hub City, and we've got 6 brand new stories posted on the NewBrunswickToday.com website within the past 24 hours, so take a look at those. And for now, to start off the show, let's take a look at the Ferrin Mall demolition camera. This was the view from our office earlier this morning, and we can finally see the New Brunswick train station now from this spot here on Patterson Street as that demolition project continues. Now, what the future holds for that massive site is still up in the air, but definitely stay tuned to New Brunswick Today and this show. We will be the first to let you know when a plan is in place to develop this prime real estate. So a big thank you to everyone who attended the New Brunswick Today 5th anniversary party on January 28th. We all had a great time at the Dillinger Room, and we are going to have many more events for our members throughout 2017. To become a sustaining member of New Brunswick Today and help us keep holding our leaders accountable here and educating the public, just go to members.newbrunswicktoday.com and sign up. You'll get our fantastic bilingual print edition mailed to you anywhere in the country, plus some other great benefits of becoming a member. So sign up today at members.newbrunswicktoday.com. Well, today Mayor Cahill is busy. He is actually just got done speaking at an event at the Crossroads Theater, and today, well, he's bracing for a protest against him. That protest is set for the steps of City Hall at 4 p.m. today. The protest comes in response to an article published by the Daily Targum. That article declared that Cahill's office had issued the newspaper a statement saying that New Brunswick was not a sanctuary city. This was met with great outrage and opposition on the part of many folks in the New Brunswick community, and even sparked the mayor to write his own kind of response that's available on the city website. And that was released just around the kickoff of the Super Bowl this weekend. But nevertheless, folks still think that the mayor could and should do more to protect the immigrant community here in New Brunswick. It is a sizable immigrant community with thousands of immigrants, mostly hailing from some of the poorest parts of Mexico as well as Central America. Now, this issue is not a new one. Immigration has been a big issue in New Brunswick for some time, but the Rutgers community has really been seizing this opportunity to build a movement around the issue of immigration. As we pointed out in November, even before Donald Trump was elected president, there were protests starting to advocate for immigrants, and that movement was centered very much around the Rutgers campus. Well, it all came to a head when Donald Trump signed executive orders that essentially banned or halted immigration from 7 different countries. Those changes have created a lot of chaos, and universities across the country are actually feeling that chaos more than most other organizations, because here at Rutgers, at least, we have tons of international students and staff, faculty who travel all over the globe for their work. So this immigration order has definitely drawn some opposition from the university community here, and that was apparent at a protest last week. My guests today are going to tell us how they helped organize that protest. And while we bring Karimar Andujar and her friend Shadi on the show, we're going to show you some videos. These are videos from Tap Into New Brunswick's Jack Murtha. He provided the best coverage of that protest. This was last Tuesday here in New Brunswick. It was a pro-immigration, anti-Trump protest. Take a look at this footage and we'll be right back with our special guests.
Rutgers, we move from here from not just protesting to making sure that none of these policies go into and take effect here in America, because this country belongs to each and every one of us. Brown, black, white, long hair, Muslim, Christian, Jew, whoever you are, this country belongs to us too. Make your voice heard, Rutgers. Stand up. Trump will not win.
Democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like! Refugees are welcome here! Refugees are welcome here! Refugees are welcome here!
Both of you for joining us, being my guest today. Thanks. So we'll start with you. Tell us, how did you decide to start your own organization, and tell us how that's gone so far. Undocumented Rutgers, you guys just came on the scene pretty recently.
Yeah. So I decided to start an organization for undocumented students because I felt as if there was a lack of community amongst the undocumented student population. And I felt that's very important just because there's not many of us. Like, statistically wise, it's very difficult for an undocumented person to go into higher education. So there's not like a great deal of us at the university. So I think it's important for us to come together, because we do have a lot of shared experiences, a lot of shared plight. And also, I decided to create an organization for getting our voices out there and centralizing resources. So an undocumented student has one place to go if there's some sort of information that they need.
Great. Well, it's a really wonderful cause. Tell us, Shadi, how'd you get involved in organizing? How'd you end up, organizing this mass protest against the president's executive orders?
Right. So I definitely have a lot of. So when I first got here freshman year, that was the No Rice campaign. I
Sure.
tried to get involved with
Condoleezza
that.
Rice, yeah.
Right. And so that was kind of my first big thrust into activism on campus and kind of understanding student power and what we have, and we can make demands to the university president because he is our representative. And so what do we want and what are the values of this university and are they being upheld? And so I guess from freshman year to now my senior year, and the politics are changing. So now that Trump is president and he's saying some pretty radical things, and not my kind of radical,
Right.
the other radical. The executive order was passed. I talked to some people on campus. What can we do? How can we organize? It initially started as a small rally. Then we saw that there was a huge turnout. 800 people were invited on Facebook within a few hours.
Right. It was massive.
We were blown away. We were like, okay, now we have people. And so, and then that's kind of when the whole idea really developed.
Gotcha. So I remember I really was very moved by the protest back in November. Really huge turnout right after that election on the campus. that protest kind of had a different feel, partly because the university administration was being criticized for their not exactly stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, it seems there's been some progress made. The president of the university got up there and spoke to the crowd and kind of expressed solidarity
Yes.
with your movement. Tell us, how do you see that going, and are you happy with what Rutgers has been doing recently, or do you think there's more they can do?
It definitely has been headed in the right direction, but I believe several different student organizations will agree that it still needs to be taken forward. I believe that there are certain communities that are being attacked right now with a certain amount of fervor, so we need the Rutgers administration to combat that with the same amount of fervor. So being moderate is not going to suffice in this day and time. So the speech that Barchi gave was great. However, there was criticism because he didn't directly say that he was against the ban. He was more speaking about how Rutgers believes in diversity and so on and so forth. So he didn't directly say no ban. I believe that there was an email afterwards that he, correct me if I'm wrong, that he directly said that he was against the ban. But what we have seen is a lot of like he's trying to stay in the middle.
Right. You can tell that he's not. He's hesitant to criticize the president.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I guess I want to get your take on the whole that day last week. It was really beautiful. Started with a prayer, then you had speeches, and then a march, and folks were still out there when I left at like 7 p.m. chanting outside the Old Queens campus there. Tell us, how did you go so quickly from saying, hey, let's have a get-together, a rally, to executing such a well-organized event?
Right. I mean, so I definitely. We really. It kind of took a life of its own. I told everybody who organized immediately. This would not have happened if everybody who was involved didn't get on board immediately and kind of dedicate themselves for the 48 hours that we really had to plan this. Immediately. So even in the rally, a lot of the plans were planned. A lot of things that you saw, having people come out to College Ave, doing a vigil, having all those speakers, making sure that we represented everybody on campus and showing there's a solidarity in a movement. Even though Trump says it's a Muslim ban and people criticize it and say it's not a Muslim ban, he literally said ban all Muslims. So it's a Muslim ban, but kind of showing how that is related to the Dakota Access Pipeline, undocumented students, Black Lives Matter. We made sure that that sure, right now it's a Muslim ban, but really, what are the values? Like I'm saying, if Rutgers wants to be revolutionary, what are you going to do that? What does that mean to us? And what is, everything we see, all these banners around campus are history, like past 20 years, 30 years. Paul Robeson, we love to show Paul Robeson, and it's like, well, if you ask Paul Robeson his experience at Rutgers the time he was here, it would not be this beautiful story that Rutgers administration loves to show. And so I guess our role as students on campus is really to challenge that. What does revolutionary mean? What are the values of this campus, and who's upholding them? And if we don't agree with our administration, if we see that maybe they're not as active as they need to be or outspoken, and then we're going to take that upon ourselves to make sure that we get as many orgs as possible, and we really show the New Brunswick community, the whole nation, that this goes much deeper for us, and we're not going to settle for what's handed to us from our administration. Right on.
So you mentioned you're a senior. This is your last year at Rutgers. What year are you?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior. Okay. So you're how old?
I'm 21.
21 years old. You've already started your own organization. You kind of represent this new generation of students that are affected by some of these things with undocumented activism, but also, like you mentioned, the Condoleezza Rice protests of 2014. And tell me, where do you see the movement going as we move forward, and maybe even past President Trump onto hopefully bigger and better things? Where do you see your movement going?
Mm-hmm. Well, as one of the things that Shadi pointed out is that there is a lot of unity, and that's where I necessarily that's where I see it going, because there is various communities being attacked at one time. So we're seeing the intersectionalities of that attack, and we're responding as one. So that's where I see us heading, more of this collaboration. So when we had the Cosecha March, there was
Calling for a sanctuary campus.
yeah, the Cosecha March calling for a sanctuary campus. There were students of almost every single walk of life there, and the same was for the march that was against the Muslim ban. So you don't only have Muslim students standing up for Muslim students or undocumented students standing up for undocumented students. You have Muslim students standing up for Black Lives Matter, and then Black Lives Matter standing up for undocumented students, and undocumented students standing up for Muslim students. So there is people are starting to see the intersectionality of our shared experiences, and it's a beautiful thing. So if you have people from different religions all locking arms, surrounding people as they pray, people that have been recently subjected to such discrimination, that's a beautiful thing. I was so glad I got to take part in the experience, but that's where I see us going. Where if the next community that's targeted, I see us responding as one, as a unified student body.
Awesome. So I know that you guys did a great job on the protest. I think it's really cool. One of the things in New Brunswick today we try to do is tear down these walls between the student community and the non-student community. And of course, New Brunswick is home to a lot of immigrants, many of whom are undocumented, right here in the same city where the state university is. And the work you're doing is helping to bring together those communities. I wanted to ask if you guys plan to be at the rally that's scheduled later today at City Hall. There are folks that are calling for the mayor of New Brunswick to take a stronger position on this issue. What do you think about that, and how do you see your organization working with the undocumented community here?
So to answer your question, if we're going to be there, I personally am not, because I have class. I'm a student first.
Right on.
But I do have executive members of the organization that are going to go on my behalf, and to also represent the organization. To answer your question about what we're going to do with the greater New Brunswick area, we had an event earlier this school year. It was held in November, and it was an undocumented student college fair.
Yes.
And that was open to the general public. We had various offices from Rutgers speaking, and also in the future we're planning to have a Know Your Rights event. So it's going to be an event in conjunction with several other organizations. So the one that we're going to have is going to focus on undocumented immigrant rights, but there are going to be other events held focusing on knowing your rights as a Muslim, or knowing your rights as there are other ones. Okay.
Yeah, so actually moving forward, though you have it right here, but the faculty union is actually, the faculty union on campus, they're going to be hosting a teach-in on February 23rd, and I guess that's really kind of a place where, if you read the itinerary, it kind of shows this solidarity. There's a lot of different issues. It's addressing kind of all these different aspects of politics today, and those who are, I guess, threatened right now in this country. And I guess just really moving forward, it's really important that we as a Rutgers community elevate the level of conversation. We can't just get our news from the news, right? I think that as a research university, it's really important that we begin to, reach out, that we should really do our research as students or as members of these communities before speaking on anything. I think a lot of people are coming out, in the past 6 months, everyone became, an expert on Syria and an expert on Islam, and and it's not based in anything that's coming out from Muslims. If you want to talk about Islam, talk to Muslims. I'm not Muslim. I talk to Muslims and I learn about it. I'm not Palestinian, but I'm on the board of SJP, and I think we have access to JSTOR. We have access to all these sites as university students, and we can do our research. If politicians in the news are not getting their news from the news, they're getting their news from people who are dedicated to or studying this, and then they kind of switch it up, as a media. But I think that's really where this university needs to go. I think as university students across the country, we really just need to elevate the level of conversation and create spaces where conversation can happen.
So this is a great example here. So the Rutgers AAUP AFT is going to be hosting this Teach-In for Action at the United Methodist Church here in downtown New Brunswick. That's a church on George Street at the corner with Liberty Street. And so, some very interesting panelists. It starts at 4 p.m. and it goes until a little bit after 8:30. Senator Cory Booker has been invited, among others. So definitely check that out. That's a great next step for folks that want to get more involved in your movement. And also, stop by City Hall today if you want to see the protest calling on Mayor Cahill to do more to protect the immigrant community here in New Brunswick. That's at 4 p.m. at City Hall, 78 Bayard Street, New Brunswick. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you. Keep up the great work.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on the New Brunswick Today Show.